9 things women secretly crave, but won't ask you for. She won't say it. Not directly. Not clearly. Because half the time, she's still figuring it out herself. But if you wait for her to spell it out, you'll miss it. You'll miss the look in her eyes when she's holding back tears. You'll miss the silence that screams, "I can't hold this alone." Gentlemen, this isn't about fixing her. It's about seeing her. It's about leading from the heart, even when she doesn't ask you to. Because when you learn to listen deeper than her words, you become the man she can finally rest with. 1. She doesn't just want to be loved. She wants to be chosen every day. You know, one of the most dangerous things we can do as men is assume that once she's with us, once we've made the commitment, we've done enough. We think, she knows I love her. I said it. I show up. We're good. But here's the truth that most men miss. She doesn't just want to be loved. She wants to be chosen. And not just once, but over and over again. Not just when she's glowing, laughing, or dressed up for date night, but when she's messy, when she's tired, when life feels heavy, and she's wondering if she's still seen. It's in those quiet, ordinary moments, when she's folding laundry, or making dinner, or sitting in silence with that faraway look in her eyes. That's when choosing her matters most. And choosing her doesn't mean grand romantic gestures. It means reaching for her hand when you're both stressed, remembering what lights her up, looking at her with the same eyes you had when you first fell for her. Because here's the truth. Most women don't fall out of love suddenly. They fade out slowly when they stop feeling chosen. So if you're a man who wants real connection, real depth, then ask yourself honestly, am I still choosing her? Or have I gotten comfortable? Because love doesn't die in chaos. It dies in neglect, and choosing her every day is how you keep love alive. 2. Your presence matters most when things feel ordinary. Here's something we rarely talk about as men. We're trained to do, to fix, to solve, to provide. And sure, those things are important. But sometimes, the most powerful thing you can offer her is your presence. Not your money, not your opinions, not a solution, just you. Fully there, attentive, not distracted, not halfway in. You know the way your dog looks at you like you're the center of its universe. Women may not admit it, but they crave that kind of undivided attention too, especially in the small, forgettable moments. Sitting on the couch, walking through the store, eating dinner in silence. It's not about what you say, it's about the energy you bring. Because here's what I've learned. If she always feels like she's competing with your phone, your work, your thoughts, eventually she stops trying. But when a man brings stillness into the room, the kind of grounded, calm presence that says, nothing else matters right now but you, everything shifts. She softens. She feels seen. She feels safe. And that's where intimacy begins. Not in the bedroom, but in the living room, the grocery store, the Tuesday morning coffee. You want a deeper connection. Be there, even when nothing's happening. That's when everything happens. 3. The mystery she still craves. Let me tell you something most men miss. Even when a woman loves you, even when she's committed, when you've built a life together, shared a bed, a bank account, and maybe even a family, she still craves mystery. Not the mystery of secrets or lies, but the kind of mystery that makes her feel alive. The kind that says, there's still more to you and to us than what we've already seen. See, early on in a relationship, everything feels electric, new, unpredictable. You're discovering her. She's discovering you. Every look, every touch carries a spark. But over time, routines set in, schedules get tighter, and that sense of exploration slowly fades. But here's the truth. She doesn't want to be put on a shelf. She doesn't want to be figured out like a solved puzzle. She wants to feel like there's still more to uncover. More layers of her heart. More edges of her soul you're still curious about. And this isn't about buying surprise gifts or planning fancy vacations. It's about showing up with fresh eyes. It's about not assuming you already know everything. Because the moment you stop being curious, she starts feeling invisible. So ask her questions you've never asked. Listen like it's the first time she's told you her story. Notice the small things she's doing differently. The book on her nightstand, the change in her tone, the way she sighs at the end of a long day. And more than that, let her see that you're still growing too. That the man she chose isn't stagnant. That you're learning, expanding, deepening. Because when a woman sees that you still have depths to explore, she feels that spark all over again. And in that space, you're no longer just her partner. You become her adventure again. And I'll tell you this, that mystery, it's not something you give her once. It's something you become. 4. When she's overwhelmed, be the calm. Here's something most men never get taught. When a woman is overwhelmed, she's not always looking for solutions. She's searching for something deeper, a steady presence she can feel safe inside. We live in a world that celebrates speed, performance, reaction. But what a woman truly longs for in moments of chaos is a man who doesn't get pulled in, a man who stays grounded. It doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you're not afraid of her storm. You know those moments. She's had a long day. She's anxious, upset, maybe even snapping at you a little. And everything in you wants to fix it, or worse, fight it. But here's the shift. Instead of reacting, be the calm in the room. Take a breath. Look her in the eye. Let your stillness speak louder than her stress. You're not suppressing her emotions. You're holding space for them. You're showing her without saying a word. You don't have to carry this alone. See, emotional leadership isn't about control. It's about presence. It's about being the man who doesn't disappear when things get hard. The man who doesn't run, shut down, or try to outtalk her emotions. Because when you hold your ground, gently, firmly, without ego, she feels something that's rare in today's world. Security, respect, trust. And that trust, that's where intimacy deepens. That's where her defenses melt. Not because you won the moment, but because you gave her something more valuable than solutions. You gave her your centered self. That's the kind of strength she remembers. That's the kind of man. 5. Her softness is a response, not a constant. There's something a lot of men misunderstand. They think a woman's softness should always be there, that it's just her nature. But the truth is her softness is not automatic. It's a response, a reflection of the space you create. You see, most women have learned to protect themselves, to be strong, to stay guarded, not because they want to, but because they've had to. So, if you're waiting for her to drop her guard before you show up as a man, you're missing the whole point. Her softness is not a test you pass. It's a gift she gives when she feels safe. Not safe in a surface level way, but deeply safe. Safe to speak without being judged. Safe to feel without being fixed. Safe to let her guard down without fearing it'll be used against her later. So when a woman shows up cold, sharp, or distant, don't just take it personally. Ask yourself, what kind of energy have I brought to the room lately? Have I made it safe for her to be soft? Because here's what I've learned. A woman doesn't soften because you demand it. She softens when you embody a presence that doesn't shake. When she does, when your tone is steady, your actions are consistent. Your masculinity isn't reactive, it's rooted. That's when she exhales. That's when her armor slowly, quietly, starts to fall. And in that moment, you're not just witnessing her femininity, you're inviting it. So don't chase the softness. Cultivate the soil it grows in. That's emotional depth. That's masculine leadership. And that's what allows love to actually feel alive. 6. She wants you to lead, emotionally too. A lot of men think leadership in a relationship means providing, protecting, maybe planning ahead. And yes, those things matter. But for a woman who's emotionally intelligent, who's grown through her own healing, what truly captivates her is a man who leads emotionally too. Now I'm not talking about being overdramatic or always diving into deep heart-to-hearts. No, I'm talking about the kind of leadership that says, I'll go first. You show vulnerability first. You name the tension in the room first. You apologize first. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to create safety before it's demanded. See, women often carry the emotional weight in relationships, checking in, initiating difficult conversations, navigating both people's moods. But when a man begins to take ownership of the emotional atmosphere, that's when she can finally relax. You lead emotionally when you don't just react to her mood. You attune to it. When you don't avoid conflict, you lean in with clarity. When you don't make her responsible for fixing things every time something feels off, you speak first. And here's the truth. Emotional leadership isn't about controlling emotions, hers or yours. It's about containing them. Like a mountain that doesn't collapse under stormy skies. You hold the space. You don't run from it. That's what makes a woman trust you more deeply. Not just with her body, but with her soul. Because now she knows. If you can meet her emotionally, you're not just her partner. You're her safe place. And that's rare. That's magnetic. That's what makes love not just last, but deepen over time. 7. She doesn't want you perfect. She wants you real. Somewhere along the way, a lot of men got the idea that they need to have it all together, to be loved, to never show weakness, to always have the answer, to never mess up. But let me tell you something powerful. She doesn't need your perfection. She needs your presence. She needs your truth. She needs you without the mask. Because here's the thing. A woman who truly loves deeply doesn't connect with the polished version of you. She connects with the human version. The man who's still figuring things out, but refuses to run. The man who's made mistakes, but owns them without shame. The man who doesn't pretend to be strong every minute, but chooses to stay open anyway. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's courage with its sleeves rolled up. Think about it. If you're always trying to be perfect, you're not really present. You're performing. And no real intimacy can grow in a performance. But when you let her see the real you, the fears you don't show the world, the dreams that still scare you, the parts of you that are still healing, that's when something shifts. She sees your heart, not just your role. And in that space, she feels safe to be real too. Because when you're honest about your humanness, you create a bond far deeper than perfection ever could. You invite her into something raw, something true, something alive. So no, you don't need to be perfect. Just be real and keep showing up. That's the man she remembers. That's the man she trusts. That's the man she falls in love with over and over again. 8. Her softness isn't weakness, it's an invitation. Let me say something clearly. A woman's softness is not weakness. It's strength wrapped in grace. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss the invitation hidden inside it. Her softness is not about being passive. It's not about needing to be rescued. It's not fragility. It's an offering, a doorway, a subtle but powerful way of saying, I trust you enough to let you see me. That gentle tone in her voice, that unguarded smile, that way she reaches for your hand without needing a reason. These are not signs that she's small. They're signs that she's safe. And that, my friend, is not something she gives to just anyone. But here's what most men miss. That softness is also a mirror. It reflects who you are in that moment. If you show up cold, guarded, distracted, her softness will retreat. Not out of anger, but protection. But if you show up present, clear in your masculinity, rooted in your awareness, firm but kind, you give her space to fully bloom. Because a woman doesn't open through force. She opens through safety, through a presence that says, you don't have to hide here. And when she does, when she leans into you with that radiant softness, it's not because she's dependent. It's because she's choosing to let go and trust. And that's one of the deepest gifts a woman can give. So don't mistake her softness for something weak. It's the fiercest kind of strength. And when you meet it with honor, you both rise. The quiet power she feels when you're present. So here's the truth, brother. Women don't just want compliments. They want to be felt. They want to be seen. Not just for what they do or how they look, but for who they are beneath it all. And the compliments that stay with her aren't always the loudest. They're the ones that speak to the parts of her she hides from the world. The ones that say, I notice you. I respect you. I choose you still. And maybe that's the real difference between a man who impresses and a man who impacts. One reaches for approval. The other reaches for truth. So next time you speak to a woman, don't just say something nice. Say something real. Let it come from a place of stillness, clarity, and grounded presence. Because when you show up that way, you don't just make her feel beautiful, you make her feel safe. And that, my friend, is where deep connection begins. Thanks for watching. If this message stirred something in you, share it. There are good men out there looking for real guidance. And sometimes, one simple truth can change how a man loves forever.